All right, this VuduVince here. We're gonna do a render walkthrough, a little AAR on some of these renders that I have here. Let's take a look and see what this one was first. Yeah, more or less what I had going on here. So the thought process here behind this strategy is to essentially have two 3-man teams, 2 cruisers, a DD, and then battleship play where they're required. So the call that I would have made would have been to send 3 vessels here, 3 vessels here. And you're either going to look and see what you're trying to spot down here at C. You're not sure if they're going to try a heavy A-B push, if they're going to try a heavy C push, if they're going to try and contest the cap, if they're going to try and fight you out on 9-10. You don't know where the enemy is. So the very first thing you have to discover is, where are the bad guys? So what I did was allow, at the time we had 3 DDs that were running, I allowed the DDs to kind of make their choices. Ranger Dude was in Z42, Dorvanti was in Shimakaze, I think Volgar was out here in Gearing, if I recall. And so these guys scattered. So Z42 can kind of radar this or hydra this section. He can cap the point. He can contest the cap. He's a single guy. I don't like sending a lot of people onto C until you know what's south or north of C, because it's just too damn dangerous for any boats to get trapped in here, especially if a boat is allowed to move up through here or down through here and then gets angles on you at C, and C is just a kill box. A, B is usually where your movement happens. Typically, they're going to send their faster, more maneuverable boats out to AB. And because if C becomes the shootout, then your boats are usually too far out of play at AB. So vessels go to move. Z gets shot at a little bit. I think it was a Des Moines, Goliath, and a Petro to the outside. So at this point, because you're running 3 DDs, you don't actually have a second cruiser out here. You get a DD here, DD here. So I held Des Moines kind of in reserve because I was nervous about him getting out here in the open and getting slapped by something, primarily battleship. Because Des Moines nowadays, you put that rascal out there, you're going to get citadeled. So Napoli, Petro taking pretty aggressive angles in here. A lot of times you want to push out further and then come due south. That way, if you have higher detectabilities, you're not getting spotted here mid by something like a cruiser that's taking a similar track. Because you want to try to hide yourself from the enemies for as long as possible to rob them of information. So because this is kind of my weaker side, I'm holding here, and because there's a lot of pressure that could try to push through here, I, as the BB, want to try to hold that. So the second gearing pops up. Again, Des Moines really should be a little more advanced out here, but the problem is that I was worried about something getting him, and this player plays a little passively, so I didn't want to put them out in the open. They don't react very quickly, so it was a little concern that I had. Gearing goes defensive because he's being pushed away by radar, and he's being spotted by another ship. He's doing a little gunfire back and forth. We have Moscow and something else out here. Shima is doing good work by starting his screen here. So Napoli and Petrov started to turn in because we haven't detected any boats through here. So Shimakaze is doing his job by being here between the 2 cruisers. And by being here, he's going to see torpedoes before they get to our 2 boats. Even though they have hydro, he's going to see them first. And he's going to push this DD away until he runs into the buffer that is this enemy radar. So now again, I'm here as kind of a buffer, making sure no one can just push in. Petro's going to be a little slow in trying to make his attack here. Des Moines to the outside. He's got radar coverage. So this is kind of static fight. And we haven't seen the BB or another cruiser, which was a Des Moines. So Hoffman continues to push away. Shimakaze is continuing to bully him and move for position on these guys here. Petro knows he can't move up into here against Des Moines and me, and his gearing can't make that move up there as well. So Z caps the points, moves out, and now it starts becoming a defensive fight where now we're going to push around here and get rid of this Petro. I should have called for Des Moines to move sooner, but again, I was concerned that this Vermont was going to suddenly pop up and vaporize him, and I couldn't afford to lose him because of the rate of fire. The AB cap is doing well. They're stacked together. They're working closely. So Shimakaze started to move out here, then moved back towards this where he's again screening for friendlies and is moving south. He has to be careful of Hoffman, but he outspots him. Moscow is static. Goliath is static. And now this fight is starting to develop. Someone's on cap. I go to push the corner and make a mistake. These are, roughly 12-inch guns on the Petro, 11.2 or some crap. And the Rhode Island's thin on the sides, and I gave him too much angle and took some serious punishment. But I'm still alive. So my job is to get rid of this Petro. I call for Des Moines to make the push then. He goes to make the push. I take an unusual amount of damage, and it was blackout. Goes to do that and gives him a lot of broadside and gets vaporized as well. So now it's changed the dynamic of this fight here. But this fight is progressing well because it's just one cruiser and one DD. And you got two cruisers working closely together with their Shimakaze and screen. It's working great. Vermont's pushing to the outside. Gearing's here south. I'm getting rid of this Petro so that I can release this Gearing and Z42 to do what they want to. But there's also still two cruisers down here. So I take a lot of damage from the Petro and then end up being killed through just everything else getting me because I made a mistake. Our AB team is again kills the Hoffman, is pushing Moscow out, and that's the priority. And this is one of the times where you can screw up by allowing this boat. Oh no, the Vermont or something else, and you decide to stop shooting this guy. You got to keep shooting this guy till he's dead and get rid of him. So they do that. Now the game starts. So I call for both Z42 and Gearing to kite away because what they're going to do is they're going to draw these guys to them because they have to chase them. So now what they're going to do is they're going to do chip damage. They're going to shoot them. They're going to put torpedoes on them. They're going to do a lot of work. Well, now these guys are still in their collective. Petro's fairly healthy. Napoli's full health. Shimakaze's almost full health. These guys are ready to engage. They cleared this sector. They got two caps. We're up on points. They're ready to engage. So now we're going to start to push across and we're looking for targets. Well, this is where the Rolodex of priority targets changes. A radar, fast-firing cruiser is more important. Goliath is a weaker target. He's also further away. The Des Moines is closer. He's going for defensive locations, and these two DDs are tying the Goliath up. We don't know where Vermont is, and there's a DD that's in the wind. So here, I would have probably started a push to the north to negate this cover on the Des Moines, but it's one of those things where I'm not going to micromanage a player, so I'm going to allow them to play the game the way they want to, and then we can always analyze it later. So they continue to engage. Vermont finally comes back. They lose line of sight on the Des Moines. Napoli and Petro are now spotted by Vermont, so now they have to play defensively against that. But the two DDs are to the outside. We're still up on caps. We've got points. Everything's looking good. So I think Goliath ends up going down right here at the end against Napoli. Yeah, and then Napoli goes down from Goliath. No, Des Moines gets the Napoli. Napoli gets Goliath. So they did a trade here, but again, a victory. So excellent work there. And this is one of the times where dynamic play, where you go, okay, I've completed my task. Now I need to get in here and attack over on this sector. So that's what you want to look for. You want to look for things like that, where you're seeing openings and making those attacks, depending on what your caller is asking for. So I hope that explains something for this map.